Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Tapped Out Wrestling Podcast. I am, of course, Nick McDaniel, and as always, I am joined by my buddy Myron.
Good morning, folks. I am in such a good mood. I didn't come up with any bad jokes this morning. How's it going, wrestling world? I think the wrestling world is going good, but that's just my opinion. How do you feel about that, Nick?
How dare you try to be positive, Myron, about wrestling? Don't you know you're supposed to be a negative Nelly when it comes to wrestling fandom?
I forget.
Yeah, you did.
I just forget sometimes.
Listen, I before we get started, I do want to, because this week I was really good about it. We're going to discuss some of these topics. We're going to touch on them. But I did cut a couple videos this week, put them up on our YouTube channel over on youtube.com, Tapped Out Wrestling Podcast, Tapped Out Podcast Network, at Tapped Out Pod's the handle there, by the way. You could become a member, a paid, behind the paywall and get those videos. Like I said, I did a couple of them this week. I'm going to start doing more and more and more. As like I said, the more I'm in the car, the better. So you guys hope I'm busy work-wise, because that makes me do more videos when I'm in the car. But look, if you just go to YouTube, like it, subscribe to it, turn your notifications on. If you want to get that extra stuff behind the paywall, become a member there. That'd be appreciative as well. Because hey, like that's the cool stuff about having some free time. I know you practice, you did some trial runs.
Yeah, I'm working on my gimmick. I'm trying to get that together. I really want to contribute also to that kind of stuff. Well, some days you got it, and some days you don't, folks. You got to get that stuff down.
Hey, Myron.
Yes.
You know what else you need to get down?
What's that?
You need to get that bush down. That's right.
No.
We're back again another week with our friends over at Manscape. Listen, when you can't look, you got to keep high and tight. Is that what they call it? You want it to be, you want it to be low. I know. Myron gets a little
I can't see the tree for the forest.
There you go. Well, make sure that's not the problem, because you got to be good and clean with our buddies over at Manscaped.
Men, listen up. When it comes to keeping your privates in tip-top shape, use Manscaped's Lawnmower 4.0.
Bam!
Talking to you, Private Peters. It's time to shape and scape privates. This trimmer features skin-safe technology to help reduce the risk of nick and cuts when it comes to trimming privates.
Yes, ma'am.
No, I meant your actual privates.
Ma'am, yes, ma'am.
That was not an order. And because it's waterproof, you can trim the field, rain or shine. If you like power, the Lawnmower 4.0 has a powerful 7,000 RPM motor, a 4,000K LED spotlight, a wireless charging system, and it's even got a travel lock. So what are you waiting for? Get your privates ready for action and order your Lawnmower 4.0 today at manscaped.com. If you want the ultimate care package, check out the Performance Package 4.0. You'll get the Lawnmower 4.0 and the Weed Whacker ear and nose hair trimmer.
You smell that?
I sure do. I think it's coming from down in your trenches. Luckily, Manscaped includes the Crop Reviver Ball Toner Spray.
A refreshing spritz that's vegan and paraben-free?
I love the smell of ball toner in the morning. If you're using deodorant on your armpits, don't you think it's time for long-lasting protection on your groin grenades? That's why Manscaped also includes the Crop Preserver Anti-Chafing Ball Deodorant.
Fire in the hole!
Attention! Looking smooth, privates. Looking smooth. Get your privates ready to engage by ordering the Performance Package 4.0 by Manscaped today. Receive free worldwide shipping, a free pair of Manscaped boxer briefs, and a free shed travel bag.
That's right, man. Check out our friends over at manscaped.com. Link is in the show notes, man. Just, click on that. Pick up your supplies, man. I'm a fan. I'm not going to lie to you, dude. I think it's a must-have for every dude.
You were telling me on the way to wrestle the other night, it's the smoothest thing you've ever rubbed on your testicles.
I don't know about all that. I don't know if that's a whole other conversation, Myron. But hey, look, man. Again, support. Look, we always tell you, man. Appreciate the sponsors and take care of them, man, and they will take care of you. So again, Manscape.com. But go to the link in the show notes, and it's actually help support our show directly there. That's right. But
I'm trying to help 7-Eleven. If you're watching this, I'm a huge fan of Slurpees and Fountain Diet Cokes, and there's just one up the road I discovered. So please pay attention. I will help put you over.
All right, man. Well, look, it's a big, big weekend, and look, there's a lot to talk about, and I think
I just hope. I just hope this show gets a as positive reaction as Triple H when he comes out these days, Nick. Holy,
they are on a roll. They are on a roll, man. And I think one of the okay, let's start in reverse because we were going to get the overlying theme here was look, it's been a phenomenal weekend. We're going to go through each topic a little bit more detail. WWE Backlash was last night. Obviously prior to our recording. I was as thrilled as can be with that show.
Me too. And how could you do a better show in front of a more receptive audience? How could you give them more of what they wanted, more of what WWE needed? That crowd was hot the whole show.
Exactly. Then AEW breaks the news of their ticket sales. All of this, and kind of what we're trying to get at, Myron, in the grand scheme of this whole story is, yet there's still people pissing and moaning and bitching and complaining online. Now, I'm not saying everything's all right in the world. That's not what I'm saying. But my argument is, though, there are times where I just feel like, it's funny because of all people, it was Road Dogg. That's one of the ones who kind of made me turn this corner. He's like, how much good shit do you, and he didn't use these words, it's my words. How much good shit do you have to sift through to find the bad shit for you to bitch about it? I mean, think about that. Like, if you watched that pay-per-view last night, and we're going to get into it specifically in a minute, like, what are the people pissing and moaning about it? I'm like, why? Like, there was so much good shit to be positive about. Why would you be negative about that show?
Well, Wembley Stadium holds 90,000 people, Nick. They've only sold 60,000 tickets.
Yeah, that one just blows my mind that anybody is even remotely. By the way, we literally had to go back. Like, we're sitting here, like, listening to old shows because I'm like, how many people did I say they were going to sell? And it was like 60 to 70 probably is what I think they'll do. Dude, I'll be the first one to tell you. I hope I'm wrong. They are off to the races.
I'm stuck at 35,000. Okay, I predicted 35,000 would be a big deal. I'm glad I didn't bet on it. I'm hoping that's not the one I said I would have a dance off with Mooney, Jeff Mooney, if I lost. I'm not going to listen to that old show, please. Hopefully that's not the one because I'm going to get doubled down on this, folks. I'm going to get doubled down on my prediction. Mm-hmm. That's my new prediction. 70,000 is a done deal. If they've sold 60,000, 70 is a done deal.
Yeah, I think so. I said I thought 80 was a stretch. 90, I wasn't real sure that they could, pull off. But, dude, I am the first to be happy to be wrong. I think they legitimately have the chance to, hit 90. And I don't know why. Like I said, I'm just baffled. We talked about this between all of the good news in wrestling right now. If you're like, I understand like people saying like, oh, I wish they would have done this or I would have preferred. I want to stress with that. Jeff Jarrett always says creative is subjective. It's like, I would have done it this way or I would have, and here's the, and Triple H brought it up in that press conference when they addressed, well, what about doing it this way? That way, people say, oh, this would have been better. He goes, how do you know? We didn't do it that way. But if you did it that way, you wouldn't know if this one was better or not. So it's it's easy to think, and listen, by the way, some of those the stuff behind the paywall was a lot about the shit we think we know that we don't know. That's a huge thing. And I think, by the way, sidebar for like 30 seconds. I think that's our problem in life in general now.
Yes.
Everybody's an expert on how to be like start a business.
It doesn't matter what it is.
They could write movies. They could write songs better. They could write TV shows better. They would be a better politician. They would be a better wrestler. They would be a better booker. Blah, blah, blah. Everybody. I'm like, dude, I am just always amazed at how much better guys that like don't do anything are better.
I've had a lot of time off lately, and I've been following Star Wars more because it's from a innocent time for Myron, and it makes me happy. And Star Wars fans are like that. Of all things, of everything I've ever looked at online, guitars, speaker, hi-fi web fan clubs, but wrestling is the truest thing. In wrestling, if you follow the pot of gold, the wrestling rainbow to the pot of gold, you just expect there to be shit. It's a pot of shit because everybody just ruins it. Can't we just find that pot of gold? Can't we just we follow the rainbow and we find a great pot of gold? I think right now we've got a pot of gold, but people aren't happy with it. And that doesn't make any damn sense to me. If you're an AEW fan, things are great. If you're a WWE fan, I think things are great. If you're an indie wrestling fan, things are great right now. Let's be happy for everybody else.
AEW gets, the rumors are they got $52 million for the Saturday show. Puerto Rico paid $1.5 million just to get Backlash, apparently. People are starting literally to pay them to bring their shows to them.
Yes.
Which I know they've been doing that for a while.
Figure you gave me about what a WWE show breaks down last night?
Oh,
they get paid $1 million to go to it. They not only get paid by Peacock to put on shows, they get paid $1 million to come to your town to put on that show.
Well, Puerto Rico paid $1.5 million. Then they sold tickets and they sold merch, and then they went on and on and on. But like I said, I think one of the things we discussed off air is it basically the only people like complaining, like almost feel like it's their job to complain.
Yes.
Like,
yes.
Let's use the example, Myron, because this one hit close to home to you.
Yes.
Jim Cornette. By the way,
I love Cornette.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. I think he's one of the smartest minds in wrestling. But right now, he has made a boutique business in being angry and complaining about stuff. And I don't know. I've met him briefly, and he was super nice to me. But that's how he makes his living now. He's not in the wrestling business anymore. But his greatest windfall has been AEW. It's given him something to make his living on.
To rant. Give him stuff to rant about.
Yes. And
Myron, I want to ask you this. If he didn't complain like he did, and let us know, by the way, I want our listeners to know, tappedoutpod@gmail.com. If he was very positive and wasn't as negative, would you listen to him as much? Or do you enjoy the negativity?
I've had to cut back because I was talking with a guy the other day about CM Punk. And I have a different opinion of CM Punk than the other fellow had. And a lot of my opinion on CM Punk comes from being a Cornette fan. It comes from being a negative wrestling fan. So maybe we should rethink some of these attitudes. I don't think Cornette's trying to hurt the wrestling business. I think Cornette's trying to take care of himself. I don't mean to belittle Cornette because I think he's, like I said, one of the greatest minds in the wrestling business. But
100%.
I'm all for more positivity.
Listen, there are times Myron.
Yeah,
there are times that I tell people that news show that you watch. Half the time, I look at that guy and go, I don't even think he believes a lot of the shit he's saying.
No. Remember when we were kids and they made us so paranoid? This is a thing coming from the 70s. The news every night, which my parents watched religiously. Dad would come home from work and sit in his chair in his underwear and watch the 6 o'clock news. And it would be nothing but scares about Russia's nuclear bombing us every night. And it was terrifying for a young child to watch that. And then that has evolved into what's on the news now, where it's just fear mongering and people tune in because they're scared. My mother gets worked into a frenzy by the news. She's paranoid about the news because she watches it. I just can't let myself watch it anymore.
It's
because it's.
And here's the thing: why can't more people realize like that's where the heat is, right? That's where the draw is.
Well, yeah, the draws in bad news. The draws in heat.
And
nobody tunes in for good news.
And I think podcasting, I think dirt sheets, if call it, the wrestling journalists call it what you will, they think that's where the money's at. So
yeah,
but I just think that's where we come sometimes, where it's like it's just cool to shit on things. But you know what we're not going to shit on, man?
What's that?
Let's plow forward and let's discuss more in depth freaking Backlash. So
yes.
I'll let you start because I know there were things that you like were even more into than I was.
I was so impressed by that crowd. Okay. So impressed by that crowd. I thought it was awesome. They didn't cheer for who I thought they were supposed to cheer for, in parentheses, supposed to. They cheered for who they wanted to. And they cheered as a whole stadium. They didn't like have that thing where they were cheering for different people and they drowned each other out. They cheered as a unified group. They cheered loud. They chanted. Io Sky killed it. She stood out to me more than anybody in the card. She had a storytelling match with Bianca Belair. I am finally sold on Bianca Belair. That match to me really sold me on Bianca Belair. Had that match not been interfered with, I think that just ruined it. I think Damage Control is over. I think that's going to end probably on whatever show they're on this week. Phenomenal wrestling. Omos, I like what they're going with him. I love Zelina Vega. How she did the Rey Mysterio spot. She did the Eddie spot. She came out there and hit. Even if she lost, she was still super cheered, Nick.
Mm-hmm.
She still got over so hard. Everybody loved to see her there. Okay? Everybody loved to see her there.
Yep. Listen, okay. And Myron, because it segues right into the Bad Bunny match.
Yes.
What did we say? They played to the audience that was in that building and got the reaction I think they wanted. If, and it's a big if Hunter really is totally kind of driving this ship now, it freaking shows. Because, yes. But I will tell you this, I when I watched that PLE, by the way, I watched it after Southern Fried late last night when I got home.
I watched it today when I got up.
Part of why I'm exhausted. It's part of why I'm exhausted. However, it reaffirmed something that I've been saying for a while. I think if I were WWE, I would do more international pay-per-views and shows and just say, look, U.S. is, and look, we live here. I would say, look, the U.S. is just spoiled. They're overexposed to the product. So let's pull back some of these dates and go, do some international loops with Raw and SmackDown and blah, 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 whatever. Because think about it now, what you could do, if the brand splits legit going to hold up, you could take Raw to one place, SmackDown to somewhere else, and run the shows and, just boom, boom, boom. Because then you're not having to worry about Friday and Monday with guys crossing over. You could go okay, well, if we're over in England or, in Europe and we're doing a loop, we could do a Friday SmackDown, do a tour, and another Friday SmackDown and do a tour and then fly out. You could get enough meat on that bone to make it worthwhile to go in. And then the Raw could be run in the US or the Raw could be run in another market for that matter.
Well, they just did a European house show tour.
Yeah.
They just got back from that. And that's test the waters because I think Triple H is that smart. People don't understand. We already are WWE fans. Technically, we're going to be WWE fans. we may not be as important as getting new fans and building the base. People
Myron,
might like me and Nick. How much have we spent on WB this year? We've both had Peacock memberships.
by
You
the way,
bought
it's
two
the
shirts.
only reason. It's the only reason. You're right that we're Peacock.
Yes.
Yeah.
You bought 2 shirts. It's been a while since I bought a shirt, and when I did, they were on clearance.
But you're talking about like, I think the base is there. That's the argument. I think the base is already in Europe, but instead of going there twice a year, maybe it's 3 times a year. Hell, maybe it's 4, Myron. I don't know. Maybe every 3 months you do a loop through there. Because on one loop, you could do the Raw, and then in 3 months, you could do a SmackDown, and then in 3 months, you could do a Raw again, because it would have been 6 months since they were there, and then back to SmackDown. You could almost go 4 times a year with the different brands and take different talents. Because I think what they look, first of all, let's be honest, they did a great job with the show to get the reactions they got.
Oh, yeah.
But I think it's also because that fans that aren't overexposed, they actually, like get really into it and they're really fired up. That's why I think those international shows do so well.
Oh, yeah.
So that's kind of
they also booked it. They booked it extremely well.
Listen, I'm not knocking anybody what I'm about to say, but I think this is a fact. It's also why I think local shows, it's tougher to book a show by the way, somebody like Southern Fried, remember when they do like every 2 weeks, like how hard that is? Then there's once a month, and then there's once every other month, there's once a quarter. It gets easier and easier the longer you go, in my opinion, and I could be wrong, because you're not overexposed as much. It's just more difficult to run on a more frequent level. So I think that's kind of what I mean by I just think in America, people are so used to it that like maybe if you stretch it out, spread it out, they'd be more, demand and more desire and more into, being more passionate.
Now remember, we have 3 hours of wrestling on Monday, 2 hours of wrestling on Tuesday, 2 hours of wrestling on Wednesday, 2 hours of wrestling on Thursday, 2 hours of wrestling on Friday. We're going to get 2 more hours of wrestling on Saturday. That's going to work in with the pay-per-view that's either going to be on Saturday or Sunday. We're saturated here. We're all full.
Well, here's the problem, Myron. That content's available everywhere.
Yeah, but get new people introduced to it. Get people watching it.
Yeah, that could be true. I mean, but listen, now not to pivot, but we'll come back to some other topics here in a minute. But I think that's part of the perk of what AEW is trying to do over in Wembley.
Exactly. And if they capitalize first, that's a huge market for them to get. That's a big get for them.
Well, look, I think WWE is obviously already there. They've been in that market, and I think they've got a big European market. But what I meant by that is I think they need that next growth step. They need it. And I think this is a great opportunity for them to go over there and is flex the muscle the right word? That was a phrase I'm looking for. Flex their muscle. Let's put 80, 90,000 people hypothetically to Wembley, which we've established at this point. We both think they can do at this point.
Yeah,
So
it's not out of the question, folks.
No.
Jesus, the tickets just now went on sale in the grand scheme of things.
Yeah. So I think them going over there and like getting, if they can get some of that market share, like house show and TV and paper, it'll help get them their, a footprint there. And I think that's the positive. Yeah, it's more revenue for them. Absolutely, 100%. And that's good. That's very good for business for them.
More talent you can pay, more investment you can make in things, put you in a better position to negotiate your contracts with your TV and your PLE provide. God, I can't get used to saying PLE. One thing, please stop doing picture-in-picture, folks. That drives me crazy. I'd rather you just go to a commercial, please. Picture-in-picture drives me crazy because you can't fast forward now anymore, you bastards.
Oh, you're talking about watching it like while it's still going.
When they put it in the box, when they put it in a little box,
so,
it's like, I'll fast forward to the commercial.
I will tell you, one of the major perks of watching the replay is they have the dots for each match. Like every segment has a dot there now.
Yeah.
If you could just wait, and I love that, by the way, because it's like if you start watching a match, you're like, oh, it's not a match. You're not sitting there like skip. You literally could just go to that dot and go, now you're going to get a commercial in my case, because I'm not going to pay for not having commercials on there. And so, yeah, so, all right, I'm cheap. I get it. But I'll watch the commercial and then it'll start and then, blah, blah, blah. But,
well, I mean, you also write the show off as an expense for the podcast. So it's a, you don't want to, overcharge things. So it's a very reasonable expense. But I mean, dude, we watch wrestling in such a different way than we did when we were younger. It's evolved. Remember when we used to have to get out a videotape?
Yeah.
If we were lucky to be able to tape something?
Drive down to the Crossroads Video here in Buford, hope that they had the WWE VHS tapes in that you wanted. And it was like, oh, I want to watch the Royal Rumble. And it would be like months later, by the way. And you'd be like, I want to watch the Royal Rumble. And then you'd go down there and you'd get it, and it wasn't there. So then you're like, bah, and then you're like, you're trying to get in the next day. And it's like, Mom, can we take this one back? And you try to get it. Oh, yeah, it was brutal.
Yeah.
But maybe, hey, go to kind of, here I'm going to ping pong ball and throw everybody off. Back to one of our original things we were talking about. You're talking about how everything has evolved. Does that lie the problem? So twofold. One, the older wrestling fan can't embrace the evolution, that things change. Look, this is again, how much of it is funny that we come back to, like, this is a life issue. It's not just a wrestling. It's just a life issue that the old people like refuse the evolution, and and things change. As far as products and TV shows and things like whatever. And so, like, that's when you get, ain't my kind of wrestling, And listen,
well, when we were kids, a celebrity appearance on a pay-per-view was Regis Philbin.
Right.
Now they get Bad Bunny.
Yeah.
Who actually wrestles.
Who balls out, right? Yeah, and goes crazy.
Yeah, I mean, it's a big difference. We have neither one of us have ever heard a Bad Bunny song.
Mm-mm.
Unless it's his entrance. So,
but there's 140 million people on social media that apparently know who he is.
He was at the Met Gala. I don't know what a Met Gala is.
I do know what
but
that
I know
is.
people that do.
But
they think it's a big deal.
Now I'm really going to show my age, because the Caitlin was over today, and she was like, "Oh, he headlined," and she rattled off some show that he apparently headlined on like April 27th or something like that. So like, what a hell of a couple of weeks for that guy, right? He was like, "Oh, I headlined a couple big shows, and then I was at the Met Gala. Now I'm at Backlash or whatever." And by the way, some bitch delivered. Like, I mean. Thinking about things changing and evolving, has like Logan Paul, Bad Bunny, look, I'm gonna do a throwback here, like Stephen Amell. You remember when he did the thing with Stardust? He was like, he was one of the early ones where we were like, he's pretty freaking good. It's like
athletes, phenomenal athletes.
And it's also people like over the years. By the way, and I mean this with all due respect. AEW, NWA, blah, blah, blah. You can all thank WWE for establishing a brand in pro wrestling that had people grow up being fans of and respecting the talents of the people that did it, to come in and embrace it. Like, hey, Bad Bunny doesn't need the money. We have all clearly established.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't care what they're paying him. It doesn't matter. But for him to take those moves that, like off of the boxes on through the platform, just all the little things that it was going on, clearly the work that he put in, clearly Logan Paul, the same thing. Like, that's the evolution.
He was a hard ass. He wrestled some, I mean, he wasn't Terry Funk, but he was a hell of a lot better than Regis Philbin, for Christ's sake. Okay? I mean, the guy put it out there.
Look,
the guy took some serious shots.
He was no Mr. T. I mean, he was better than Mr.
Exactly.
T. That's my point. That's the evolution, and it's like, I just think overall goes back to the evolution, right? Things change. Now, I will tell you this. I saw a cool fact. Now, don't let the facts ruin a good story, because I'm going to run with this just like any other wrestling journalist would. I saw a thing this morning that basically said Cody Rhodes defeating Brock Lesnar is Brock's first not singles pinfall loss in 7 years.
Makes sense.
Like a one-on-one match, pinfall, clean pin. And I'm like, I wanted to ask you something. Because we talk. Listen, I'm gonna be very fair. Look, a lot of people complain about Jon Moxley blading. That Brock Lesnar blood, man, that was gnarly.
I rewatched the hit, and it looked like he might have hit a little bit low to get that blood. Now he might have been prepped for it.
I wondered. Did you see he went I wondered if he had something in his hand. And now look, and I get it. It's hard way, clip, blah, 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 whatever. Because if he jabbed, he fucked up.
Well, the thing is, that was like a less in hard ways. The only worse, nastier hard way I've ever seen was Rick Michaels that time that he bled all over that gym floor, and to the point I was worried I'd slip in it in Monroe that night.
Yeah. I remember that.
He had a puddle. It was all in the floor. That was brutal. Whatever. it was all over Cody. It was all over the mat. It was all over. Are you talking about the Crimson Mask? I'm surprised they didn't go the Crimson Mask, because that was what it was, dude.
Yeah. And my take was two things I got asked by non-wrestling fans, and I love watching things with non-wrestling fans, by the way. So I showed the Bad Bunny thing, and they thought that was cool as shit. They were like, "Oh, that was awesome." And they loved the fans knew all the words, blah blah blah. But when we got,
where's your son-in-law from?
He's from Colombia, lived in Argentina, blah blah. But I just was like, hey man, look, you know who Bad Bunny? Oh yeah. He's a musician, so he knew who Bad Bunny was. So, and I was showing him, and he thought that was a cool moment in general. But when I pulled up the Brock match, he was like, "That's a big dude." I'm like, "Yes, it is." But when we were watching, first of all, Caitlin turned to me and said, "What pleasure do you get out of watching that?" When he was just bleeding all over the place. They were like, "That's just gross. That's just too much." And it kind of made me, I wanted to be fair and say, we're very critical of AEW with the blood at times. It's too much blood, John. It's too much blood, Jon Moxley. What do you do? How do you get out of that moment? What do you do?
You save the blood for the big moment. Okay? There was blood. Okay, let me reference this. I watched NXT, and there was blood twice. The second blood was in the tag team championship match. It was a busted nose, no big deal. But the other one was in this hot, nasty former tag team, Gigi Dolan and
JC Jane, and her name?
JC Jane, yeah.
Yeah.
And they were a tag team, and they were this big deal, and it was this.
Well, they were Toxic Attraction with Mandy
Toxic
Rose.
Attraction, and JC got just messed up, and she was evil in the, and she beat him, and then she taunted Gigi Dolan's brother. It was just big match, blood. You didn't waste it. You didn't waste it on just a regular. Now it was a big TV show, the show right after the draft, in the right spot, bam.
But Byron, if Brock, and I'm under every bit of the assumption. I've watched it a couple times, and I'm like, all right, that's some hard way shit. But it was a twofold question. You ready for this? Somebody asked me something. When that match was over, they said, "Was that supposed to happen?" She said, "He doesn't look like he thought that was supposed to happen." Did somebody get in that referee's ear and hey, we got to end this shit. He's bleeding. This is crazy.
It ended pretty quick.
It did. And come on, let's be honest with you. Even as excited. By the way, there was a post that Brock got a standing ovation after the match.
Well, he was cheering for Suplex City. I hadn't heard anybody cheer Suplex City in a long time.
So that all being said, if he hard weighed, did they just go end it? You got to go home now, and because that was, I didn't. God, here, I'm not being negative, Nick, but it just seemed like it was a kind of an anticlimactic finish to a match.
A Kimura into a roll up.
into a pin. Yeah, and it was like you're just kind of like, what?
Well, he'd lost a lot of blood. Even if it wasn't a fast one, he'd still lost a lot of blood. If it wasn't a real hard way, it was a hard way. Okay, even if he hadn't, even he gigged. Okay, he gigged the shit out of himself.
Yeah.
Okay,
if he had a blade and went boop, he hit himself way too hard, and he hit something.
He hit himself way too hard. He hit a blood vessel. He had prepared himself, and it's Puerto Rico. The Stars.
I hadn't seen a squirter like that since college. I mean, it was bad. You can't
do that with a man. You'd never be able to do that with a Manscape razor.
No.
You could never gig like that with Manscaped.
No.
And that's the quickest I've ever done a follow-up to a joke that bad.
So so anyways, so we got by the way, is that even accurate? I just thought it was funny.
I thought it was funny. I don't have any idea.
Anyway, so the point being, if somebody like that's what non-wrestling people thought watching that. They loved the Bad Bunny, and they asked me, when's he wrestling again? I'm like, I don't know. I don't know that he's going to. But they're like, hey, let me know if he's going to wrestle again, because I want to watch that. That'd be cool. Then they watch Brock Lesnar, and they're like, oh, that's a big dude. That's and then like to watch it, they're like, oh, he's got to get a rematch. Literally, that was the first thing they said. He's got to get a rematch from that. Like that's.
In order for Cody to beat him, he had to undo the turnbuckle. Brock had to hit his head on the exposed turnbuckle. Brock had to bleed out.
Yeah.
Okay?
Good. It was good.
How insane is that?
Yeah. We also, by the way, before we move on, we look, one of the best storylines still going today, the Bloodline. That we got the 6-man match. Does it matter who won or lost? Not really. The story is Solo showed the first sign of turning.
We've seen that match every week since WrestleMania.
Or like combination pieces of is what we've seen. Yeah.
Yes. And I was so tired of it I wasn't caring who won. I was just watching Solo to see where things went.
Yeah.
And that was the entertaining part. The fans enjoyed it. People enjoyed it. I enjoyed it. How can you complain? I did have one question for you.
Yeah.
If you were in Puerto Rico and you were on the aisle and you were stuck between Ray and Carlito on one side and Savio Vega on the other side, which way would you run?
I would take my chances with Carlito and Ray.
Me too. That's what I was saying. Ain't no way I'd run into Savio Vega.
No.
Because then the Latino World Order run out. And I was like, he's not going to kill these guys. But that chop he did, that was wild, man.
Yeah.
I hadn't got to see that kind of stuff in forever.
I used to love back in the day, and this will be a throwback. We used to catch, and sometimes they would run Puerto Rico. You could catch it here on TV back when he was TNT. That was his name, back in the day. Yeah. Obviously, Carlo. Like I was having to explain that, of course, too, when people were like, "Hey, who's that?" And I'm like, "Oh, I was kind of like, oh, his dad is Carlito. So his dad's kind of like the Vince McMahon of Puerto Rico, kind of sort of. That's the best explanation I could give you. Explaining things to non-wrestling fans is always enjoyable. That's all I can tell you. It's always fun trying to come up with the analogies. But that was Backlash, dude. It was. I don't know how. Again, I can't put it over enough. I'm excited to see where they go. Like, what are we like? Look, well, we already know we're not going to spend a ton of time on this, Myron. They have announced, obviously, at this point, that we're going to get the 12 people. And I do want to very briefly address this because I, by the way, another video Nick had to go watch to clarify what the negative people had to say. So they announced that
we have been listening to Triple H this morning. Like some people listen to Charles Stanley, and some people listen to televised preachers. We have been hanging on his every word to make sure we get this right.
Yeah.
And there is no room for interpretation on this. The facts, Nick McDaniel, just the facts.
So they announced 12 people were going to be in this tournament leading. And so basically two triple threats on Raw and SmackDown, setting up Night of Champions, essentially who get the 4 guys who get to crown the new champion, the new WWE World Champion. And everybody immediately went into, well, I didn't think they were going to let SmackDown people. That's not what he said. He said that the championship would be exclusive to Raw. Let's be clear. Again, he said that the championship would be exclusive to Raw. If I am wrong, it's possible. Don't tell my wife that, but it is possible. tappedoutpod@gmail.com. Send me the link where he specifically said that no superstar from SmackDown would be able to be in this tournament. He just said whoever was the champion would be exclusive to Raw. So, again, goes back to our point. They named it 12 people, and I actually just cheated because I kept it up. It's Bobby Lashley, Edge, AJ Styles, Rey Mysterio, Austin Theory, Sheamus, Damian Priest, Seth Rollins, Cody Rhodes, Finn Balor, Shinsuke Nakamura, and The Miz. The popular thread would be that you can't give it to Cody because then it feels like a consolation prize to not beating Roman. Right?
Yes.
Agree or disagree, tappedoutpod@gmail.com. That's fine. I'll let you pick first. Who was if you said you had to pick a guy, who would that be?
I actually developed a B pick while we were sitting there talking.
Okay.
My A pick has to be Seth Rollins.
Okay.
Who is insanely popular. Apparently in Europe, they sang his song for 12 minutes nonstop on one of his entrances. Everybody was cheering for him in Puerto Rico. Everybody loves the guy. He seems to be in the right position to give him a title. But Damian Priest put over the guy with 140 million, thousand, jillion social media followers. And Damian Priest might be right on the cusp of being a made man. And he looks like a made man, and he acts like one, and he did what they told him. Maybe it's his turn.
Could be. I still think you're probably right if you go Seth Rollins. If you gave me a B pick, here's the problem. I just think they're going to, I think it could be Cody, and that's not what I would do. If it were me, here's the thing. You want to get some heat? I put Cody Rhodes versus Seth Rollins in the final, and I have Seth Rollins beat him. He's done the favors for Cody for 3 matches in a row?
I don't remember the exact number on that.
But you know what I'm saying? They had their matches on the pay-per-views, and then they had the Hell in a Cell, where he got injured, and he went off. My point being, I just think, look, give Seth one win for that title, get them all back.
One thing I can guarantee is, what was it, 50 or 52 million the Saudis gave them?
No, they got 50. They get 50 million.
They're going to get what they paid for. They're going to get a massive show. They're going to get the best match they can deliver. They're going to get a tremendous show.
Here's what you're going to get.
So,
Byron. You're going to get,
what's that?
You're going to get probably all of the tag titles. You're going to get, by the way, I think you probably get I think you're going to get the rematch. I think you get the Usos versus, Sammy and Kevin again. I don't know. Obviously, I don't think Roman's there. Because if you're crowning this title, I don't think Roman's there. Because you're going to have 4 guys, so you're going to have your semifinals and your finals. So you're going to have 3 matches just for this title. So you probably lead off with your 2 semifinals matches, put a whole bunch of crap in between, and then you put your, main event being crowning the new champion.
I'm going to make another horrible booker, incredibly wrong prediction.
Go ahead.
Roman and Sakura solo versus the Usos.
Too soon.
There's a long time between now and Saudi.
It's May 27th, dude.
That's a long time in
it's
wrestling.
20 days.
I still think they can do it.
They have,
I said, it's not a good pick, but it's one of Myron's
in my
picks.
opinion.
Now, if I'm right, don't tell my wife.
Gotcha. if you remotely see those guys fighting, I think you're probably like SummerSlam or Survivor Series before they're even remotely ever in a ring with each other.
I think they have to pop the Saudis because of what they paid. That's 50 times what most cities are paying to bring it there.
But still, I think they're getting their I think the women are going to defend their titles probably. There's probably going to be the tag titles. They're probably going to, I mean, I think you're going to get the, Austin Theory's got to get knocked out for him to defend the United States title. I think you're going to get an Intercontinental match with Gunther probably. So you can load this card up. So I think there's plenty of there that hey, we gave you like 8 title matches. What the hell do you, what do you want? So the money's there. So, but I'm kind of excited. We'll find next week who won all of the, because Raw, we're going to get the first 3 for SmackDown. So by the time we record next week, we'll know who the 4 are heading into, into Night of Champions, which that'll be a plus for us.
What I'm super excited about, I haven't seen the AEW card for that London show, for that Wembley show.
They're not,
because they haven't announced it yet. How do you sell 60,000 tickets without announcing the card? Can they make me want to see the show? Okay, don't typically watch AEW. Can they make me? Nothing against it. Just because it's wrong, because it's different, doesn't mean it's wrong.
Let me ask you a question, Myron. I keep hearing these grumblings, and I was like, I like them. Why don't they test that out as being a stream on Max, the new HBO Max rebrand, as we like to call it?
Well, since you can't watch it here unless you go, you can't go here.
Look, no, it might be pay-per-view. It's probably going to be a pay-per-view purchase, or it's probably going to, my argument is like, why? Go all, oh, Jesus Christ, I almost said it out loud. Go all in with Warner Brothers Discovery and just tell them, like, we'll let you stream this on your streaming service because you just rewarded us $52 million for a Saturday show. Here's our payback to you, because like record gate at Wembley. So like, hey, it's not like it's not like they're hurting. And look, I get it's a business. If the pay-per-view model, I understand. But think about, if you watch it live, there would be my take. Either I would say, do you do it live on pay-per-view, or then you could do a stream on the Max, or do you, you know what I'm saying? Or do you do it live, just a live stream on the Max? Would you be down for that? Because it's not like you don't have another pay-per-view coming. Like, it feels like right in, behind it. Let us know. Tapped-out-pod, tapped-out-pod@gmail.com.
I'm trying to decide if I would purchase it. What would they do to make Myron purchase it? That's going to have to be a good question.
Dude, Myron, here's the fucked up part. You sell 80,000 tickets. I don't care what matches are on there. I'll probably buy it. I want to see that. I'm all about, give me a spectacle, give me a big event, and 80,000, 90,000 people in that building. All right, I'm in.
All in.
Yeah, I'm all in.
If you're in, I'll go in halfway on it with you.
There you go. When I go all in, I'm all in. So, it's all
You're
about.
All in.
Yeah, I'm all in. So, all right, man. Well, look, couple things we want to talk about. We went to Southern Fried last night. But we're going to talk about it. But Southern Fried inspired our new segment, the Pro Wrestling Tees segment, the shirt of the week this week. Look, it's an oldie but a goodie, and you'll understand why. Myron?
Yes.
Drum roll.
The man that intimidates me no matter what he's wearing. The nicest guy who I'm still terrified of. The Heathen Logan Creed, also known as Cruel.
Yeah, I love this old school shirt. Check them out on Pro Wrestling Tees, the Heathen Logan Creed. The reason it's inspired, by the way, the link will be in the show notes as well. Click it, go over there, buy a shirt. Cause look, obviously guy's been MLW. He's been all over. He was IWTV champion, all that good stuff. But he is just spectacular. We've been massive fans of his for a while. So can't recommend him. Yeah. But the reason it hit so close to home, he returned home to Southern Fried Championship Wrestling last night, while we were at the show, and, made a big announcement, which spilled into an announcement that involved him, which we'll get to in a second. But June 3rd, they're going to have an all-women show to crown their first ever Southern Fried Championship Wrestling Women's Champion.
I'm going to tell you, folks, if y'all don't have independent wrestling where y'all live, you are in a sad place. And I suggest you move to Georgia, because we have got some of the best in the world. An all-women's tournament. Logan comes out to announce it. His first announcement is his wife, Brooklyn Creed. The crowd goes nuts. How she was on the first one, okay? Not a tournament. Charles, right before he passed, booked an all-women's show. See, if you can see my microphone, that's a Charles Strong bracelet. I've had that for some time. Also, that women's show, we were sponsors of it. I'd given us a little bit of money to help. I picked Lita up at Leva Bates at the airport, brought her in. That show was 5 years ago. We'd been going to Southern Fried. It's 5 years of associating with a wonderful wrestling promotion, wonderful people, top to bottom, from the promoter David Manders to the booker Todd Sexton to everybody involved in that promotion. They're putting on an all-women's show. I can't be more excited about this. They produced a video about it. This is a championship tournament. And to put icing on the cake, Logan Creed will return for a match against Zach Morris not Zach Morris. Zach Morris is a guy on a television show.
Zach Mosley.
Zach Mosley of the Exotic Youth, who put on an amazing demonstration of heel wrestling last night.
Yeah. So we get the big announcement. We're all excited about all of the participants in there. We both shared the video, by the way, so if you want to see it, we strongly suggest, by the way, you can follow Southern Fried Championship Wrestling on YouTube and watch their shows there, absolutely free. So give them a follow over there on YouTube. Hey, just like us, by the way. Wink, wink, wink.
Yes.
So while you're doing ours, do theirs as well. And just look at the big topic of the night, obviously, Sal Rinauro. Look, you guys all know him, NWA. It was his 25th anniversary in wrestling. They had a celebration, and it was just kind of cool, man, to see, when guys get, they get their flowers, they get a little love share and stuff like that, and people like kind of, showing their love for somebody that's, put in the work for that long.
Sal is an absolute national treasure. Sal is the consummate entertainer. Sal always gives 110%. Sal is, like I said, I have never seen him at a show and been disappointed in his performance. He has wrestled for every company. He has done something for every company in some capacity. I can't think of a guy who maybe AJ Styles has been more influential out of Georgia in the last 25 years than Sal. It's amazing. That guy knows everybody. Just when he talks, it's so interesting to listen to him.
Yeah.
It's like listening to Master Yoda.
Yeah, so it was cool. Like I said, lots of stories. Look, we could go on and on about the show. Maybe this week I'll just do a show and we'll discuss the whole Southern Fried breakdown. We'll do like a separate thing because we kind of ran long. But look, hell with it. We'll run long. Let's give them the love. Todd did a spectacular job, man, just weaving the stories from one segment to the next. You like that?
Well, the thing is, everybody is, and I don't mean to insult other bookers, but people are playing checkers. And Todd's like them motherfuckers on Star Trek. Where they got that board?
3D
and they don't
chess.
just got a chess board. They got that 3D chess, and he's got like them Rhodesians and them Klingons and shit. And Todd's got like 3 boards, and he's playing up and down because he's got so many storylines going. It's amazing. And the show is incredible. Now, Todd came out and got, as the booker, and got color to help put over his main event for the big show.
Let's translate. I'm going to translate. Todd got his ass whooped by the champion CT Keys because CT Keys wanted to prove a point to Judas. That's why. It's okay. Take that ass whooping like a man, and he did. I appreciate that. But
don't forget, 10-year anniversary of Southern Fried. The week after the women's show,
June 10th,
Shindig is going to be quite possibly the biggest show in Georgia this year, maybe ever.
Look, because the stories just evolved throughout the show, one thing after another. I mean, it literally went from this to this to this. And of course, we jump all the way to the main event. Carly Bravo wasn't there. He couldn't defend his Classics title. His team, they didn't defend it either. They were going to just hand it over. Michael Stevens, kind of, long story short, ends up being a match. Michael Stevens versus Sal for the title. Sal wins. But of course, Nick Halen comes out and just goats Sal right into a match right after he just had a hard fought match. And then Nick Halen walks out the Classics, champion from Southern Fried. By the way, anybody surprised that he's a champion again? Nope. So it's been, matter of fact, I would argue it's been too long since he's been a champion anywhere for that matter.
Yes.
So, anyway, we talked about the women a little bit, Myron. We talked about the tag team division. We're going to get to see.
Oh, the tag team division is so strong. The JBE tag team, Hunter James and Xavier Reyes, is phenomenal. Tristan Michaels, their manager, hit it out of the park. What a phenomenal performance. He gets struck earlier in the show, got struck on the bottom. No, that was that match. He got struck on the bottom with a belt. He did the entire run around the ring squealing and then got down on the floor and skidded across. I haven't laughed so hard. That was amazing. It was so damn funny. It was like Bobby Heenan. He is almost like he's been watching old Bobby Heenan films. Is JBE, is he handling the north side for JBE and Dr. Brock?
Mm-hmm.
It's almost like they've divided the state into sections to conquer it. It's just amazing. So many good wrestlers in Georgia and so many of them on that show. Wow. What a wonderful time to be a wrestling fan and be a wrestling fan in Georgia. Georgia is doing great. Southern Honor is about to have their 50th show.
Yep.
Okay. Anarchy is coming back for the 25th Hardcore Hell.
Yep.
25th. Action has raised over $100,000 for charity on all their shows.
Yeah, they just had their big 5 year. They had their 5 year.
Yes, 5-year anniversary. They're popping up shows everywhere.
Listen, IW in a couple of weeks has their big show.
Yes.
Where Cruel's going to be there defending his title. And I just kind of listen, they're going to crush it. That's the cool thing. Now we're starting to see promotion in the corners all firing on all cylinders and, doing really well. So I think that's why we're having such a good time. That's why it's so fun right now. Again, going back to power positivity, as the New Day would say.
I have one negative, only one negative I know of in Georgia wrestling right now is the coverage of Georgia wrestling will suffer. As the man who I've based most of my wrestling journalism career on, the greatest writer in Georgia, the great Rob Rod, the finest wrestling journalist I know, will be leaving Georgia for an extended period of time. And I will miss him. He is a good friend. He is a close confidant. He is someone I have never had a bad experience with. And to say that about someone in professional wrestling business is a rare thing.
Yep.
Thank you, Rob. Your hard work for Georgia independent wrestling is not going unnoticed. Has not gone unnoticed.
Yeah.
The people probably hurt the most will be the promotions. The promotions who will miss you doing such a hard. Now Larry's a hell of a worker.
But he's
Larry
just
Goodman,
one man.
But he's one man.
Yeah.
Rob has done so much good for wrestling all over the state of Georgia.
So Myron,
thank
hold on.
you.
Here's why. And I want to just interject this part in there. Because Rob Rod will go to shows that a lot of people and I'm not, by the way, I'm not discrediting or disrespecting the promotions, but Rob will make drives that most won't make.
Exactly.
And I think that's where that when you say Georgia wrestling will suffer, that's it. It just is. And everybody knows how we feel about Rob Rod, right? Like, I mean, we love the guy. I mean, awesome. Like you said, never had a bad experience with the guy. Hopefully he'll be back. I hope I don't listen. On one hand, I'm like, I hope I don't see you for 10 years. On the other hand, I hope I see you back soon. So, and that'll make sense to somebody, but so
You will be missed.
Yep.
We hope for the best. Safe journeys, Rob.
Yeah.
Until you write again. And please write some pieces on Florida just so I can continue to read your writing style.
Oh yeah, he will. He'll absolutely be doing some stuff down the road for Florida. Yeah. So anyway, all of that being said, man, look, who knows? Maybe I'll talk him into doing some stuff behind the scenes, Myron. Wink, wink.
Oh wow.
Yeah, we'll see. Over on our YouTube channel, at Tapped Out Pod is the handle. Tapped Out Wrestling Podcast, Tapped Out Podcast. If you search either one, you'll find us there on YouTube.com. Like we said, look, make sure you're liking the page, subscribing, turn on your notifications, and like I said, man, become a member if you'd like. Get to some early stuff. Myron's gonna start. I'm gonna get him turned on to doing some content. And I talked to somebody last night. I was like, hey, why don't you do some content for us? It might get that itch back.
Oh yeah.
So we're not gonna name any names.
Content generation is the hardest thing in the world, but it's one of the most rewarding things I've ever done.
Yeah, absolutely. And by the way, it's also got like the extra stuff on there. Like, we did the Mandalorian season review that we did with author MB Mooney's over on our YouTube channel, stuff like that as well. It's not, but we do, look, it's not on our podcast feed. We tell people all the time, just the wrestling podcast is on the podcast feed. I don't want to flood it with all the other stuff. That's only for our YouTube channel. But we do understand we have lots of listeners that, look, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, iHeartMedia, you name it. Anywhere and everywhere there's a podcast platform, we're there. We appreciate everybody who subscribes and gives us a 5-star rating. We greatly appreciate it. Myron, I ain't going to lie to you. I Googled this the other day I was looking for something, and I saw a channel that I'm like, I have no idea what this podcast platform is. I had never heard of it, and we were apparently there. And I was like, okay, that's weird, but that is awesome. I will not lie to you. So
I really appreciate everybody making us the number one wrestling podcast in the Atlanta metro area. That's been
done by two fat guys in their basement. I mean, yeah, I got you. Just put all the disclaimers too, Aaron.
Not in their separate basements. We're not using in the same basement. Yeah. We both have different basements we own.
Listen, thank you, Canada. Thank you, Iowa. Because it just seems like, for some reason, there's just random places that we do super well that I'm always like, I don't understand it, but we appreciate it.
Yes. I love you guys.
Well, you got anything else before we get out of here, man?
You guys are great. No, I don't have anything.
What's the old
saying? But I have a lot of fun doing this shit, I tell you.
Oh, I agree with you, man, 100%. But what's the old saying, brother? If I've got nothing and you've got nothing, what time is it?
It's time to tap out.